Welcome to the show. This is where we break down what really drives growth in B2B SaaS.
And where we challenge a lot of what people think is working in marketing.
I'm Bella, your host, and with me is Max, who brings over 25 years of experience in B2B marketing,
including more than 15 years building and scaling demand generation engines inside startup and scale-up tech companies.
So if you're running a B2B SaaS company and you're not quite sure why your marketing isn't translating into results,
this is for you.
Each episode, we tackle the real challenges behind pipeline, positioning, and performance.
No fluff, just practical thinking on how to build marketing that actually drives revenue.
From awareness to retention.
From strategy to execution.
This is your go-to conversation for SaaS marketing that makes sense.
Let's get into it.
Most of your future customers are not looking for you, and that's completely normal.
Yeah, and that's exactly where most companies get it wrong. We tend to think marketing is about capturing demand. People are searching, comparing, evaluating, and we just need to show up.
Right, like they're already in the market.
Exactly. But that's only a small part of reality. Most of your market is not actively looking for a solution. They're not comparing vendors. They're not booking demos. They're just operating.
So what's happening instead?
Something feels off. And you see this all the time with CEOs or sales leaders. Pipeline feels inconsistent. Conversion rates fluctuate. Revenue is harder to predict, but nothing is clearly broken.
So it's more like a signal than a clear problem.
Exactly. They feel it, but they can't fully define it yet. And if the problem isn't clear, there's no reason to look for a solution.
So this is what you call the awareness stage?
Exactly, but not the awareness of your brand, awareness of the problem. It's the moment where something becomes real enough to think about. And that phase can last weeks, months, sometimes longer.
And during that time, companies are already trying to market to them?
Yes, and that's where things start to break. Because most companies build their marketing as if everyone is ready to buy. Product-heavy messaging, book a demo, talk to sales.
But if someone is still figuring things out,
that message doesn't land. At best, it gets ignored. At worst, it creates friction because you're answering a question they're not asking yet.
So a lot of companies are basically doing the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Yes, but to be fair, this is completely normal. Most organizations are built to capture demand, not to shape it. So they focus on what's visible, leads, pipeline, conversions. But that also means they miss everything that happens before that. And that's where the journey actually begins.
So what should companies do instead?
They need to show up earlier, not to sell, but to help people make sense of what they're experiencing. Because at that stage, buyers aren't looking for vendors. They are looking for clarity. And that changes the role of marketing completely. You are no longer trying to convince someone. You are trying to help them understand. And you cannot do that in a sales conversation because they are not there yet.
So where does that happen?
Through content. That is how you show up early, before there is intent, before there is a conversation. It is how you help people think at scale.
So what kind of content actually resonates there?
It's less about format and more about perspective. What works is content that helps people understand their situation better. For example, naming a problem they've been feeling but couldn't clearly express, or explaining why something they're doing isn't working in a way that finally clicks.
So more about framing than promoting.
Exactly. Helping them see patterns like why your pipeline feels full but doesn't convert, why your sales team says the leads are not good enough, why deals take longer than expected to close.
So you're putting words on something they already feel.
Yes, and that's what builds trust. Because you're not asking for anything, you're just helping them understand their reality. And that's what makes you relevant later.
So by the time they're ready to act,
you're already associated with clarity, not just with a product.
So how do you actually measure something like this?
There are a few signals to look at. First, visibility. You can't build awareness if you're not visible. If you're publishing content like blogs, page views are a signal. They tell you if people are finding and consuming what you put out. Same with reach and impressions. How many people are you getting in front of?
But being seen isn't enough.
Exactly. Then you look at how people interact, not just how many people saw it, but what they do next. Do they engage? Do they spend time on it? Do they react in a way that shows it clicked? Because not all engagement is equal.
So you're looking for something deeper.
Yes, recognition. Do people see themselves in what you're saying? And do they respond with, this is exactly what we're dealing with? That's when you know it resonates.
And does that eventually show up in results?
It does, but later, you start seeing better conversations, more educated buyers, less time explaining the basics. Because awareness doesn't show up as more leads, it shows up as better ones.
So by the time someone becomes a lead,
You're not starting the conversation, you're continuing it.
we are getting to the end, but before we wrap up, thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this discussion on the awareness stage, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And Max, thank you. This was really insightful.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
In the next episode, we'll look at what happens when buyers start exploring their options, and why most of that process still happens without you even seeing it. See you next time.